Hey y'all, happy Monday! I want to wish a happy belated Father's Day to all the reselling dads out there. I hope everybody enjoyed their weekend. I know we certainly did. And over the weekend, I had quite a few comments, people asking about my shelving and making comments about the organization of my storage unit. Some people thinking it would be impossible to find anything. What would happen if something happened to me, and other people just don't know where to find stuff in my store, and then just in general asking questions. So I figure while we pull the weekend orders, we'll talk about it a little. First, we're gonna head back here into my DVDs and pull out a new sealed DVD that I sold, but I did not sell it for very much. Sometimes I kind of rush at the thrift store, and if I see something cheap enough, I'll just take a chance on it, not looking it up. And with media, it's really something you should look up. This is a sealed Conan O'Brien comedy special I got for 58 cents at the thrift store, but it only sold for $4.05 on offer. So definitely not a bolo, but there's still money to be made there. And now I'm heading down into my little photo cubby, which is kind of hard to reach with all my death pile getting in the way. These are colored pencils for shading like black and white photos. I paid 50 cents at the bins, they sold for $15. So first let's talk about my shelving while you stare at my pile of inbound boxes. The neighbor in the unit to the left of mine is a scrapper, and so he gets calls from different businesses, restaurants, and then hospitals to come and pick up stuff they no longer want that's heavy, hard for them to move. And my shelves were actually given to him by a local hospital, and he sold them to me. I got a really great price on them, and I'm very happy that I purchased them, but unfortunately I can't tell you where to buy them. Now, we sold this Dallas Cowboys t-shirt. It is a Nike dry fit, so nice quality t-shirt that we got at a yard sale for a quarter in like a fill-a-bag deal, and it sold for $15.96. The thing I really like about these shelves is not only do they have that lip on the front, but they have the dividers that I can kind of move and make each cubby whatever size I want it to be. We sold this Vietnam era US Army hat, which obviously has some issues. We paid $1 at a yard sale. It sold for $25.46. The house that we got that hat at was a young couple that had just purchased the house, and apparently a lot of things were left in it. So they had a yard sale just to liquidate the stuff that they didn't want. Now we have a cassette tape going out that I also got at a yard sale. Picked up a handful at the same yard sale, and this Depeche Mode Violator cassette from 1990 is actually a pretty good score. I only paid a quarter for it, and it sold for $19.95. So when people ask about my storage system, I think if you watch my videos enough, you can kind of tell that like items are together. Like this is my little area for office supplies, got a couple cubbies for different office supplies, like this acrylic vintage made in Taiwan self stand-up clipboard. I found it at the bins, paid about a quarter by weight, it sold for $10.36. So this whole shelving unit right here is pretty much where I keep my tools, my craft stuff, my office supplies, my creative memory stuff. So it all kind of has a theme, and each little cubby is like a sub-theme. So if you look hard enough, you'll find what you're looking for, but I do not use a SKU system. It's just not me. Now these little travel scissors, they're called Stitch and Go. Paid a quarter for them, they sold for $14.95. Handy little way to not stab yourself with scissors in your purse. And then we sold these Monster Ink Pez dispensers for $3.50. They are personal. So even though all my stuff is kind of laid out everywhere, and it may not make sense to everybody, there is a little bit of rhyme and reason to it. I paid 50 cents for these spark plugs at an estate sale. They sold for $14.36. Like this shelf over here is where I keep my Pez dispensers, but it's also where I keep all my other toys and sporting goods. We sold these adorable cactus Pez for $9.95. And now we're heading back to our bookshelf. Obviously, a lot of books. I also recently moved my cassettes over here so I could use these little cassette drawer storage cases. We sold a Haynes Chevy Astrovan repair manual, and my mom used to drive an Astrovan, looked just like the one on the cover. I paid $1 at a yard sale. It sold for $11.86. Now this shelf is kind of my accessory, jewelry, fashion, makeup, body products shelf, but I also have that one little red and green box where stuff I don't know where should go goes. I paid $1 for this tennis racket bookmark. It's made out of brass. It sold for $8.95. And then of course this is my kitchen goods shelf. So I keep my Tupperware here and dishes and mugs and cups and all sorts of things you would use at home, silverware. But speaking of Tupperware, we sold these little pink Tupperware tongs we got for a nickel at a highway sale. They sold for $4.95. Yes, a nickel is real. I got hundreds of pieces of Tupperware for like $3, so definitely a good score there. And then we have this Anna Lee cute little mouse hanging out in this plastic stocking. It's covered with like knit stocking fabric, but it's plastic inside. We paid $1 at an estate sale. It sold for $12.71. So I know my system could be confusing to other people, and of course, if something were to happen to me, I don't know that somebody would be responsible for maintaining my eBay store. Maybe if I was just injured for, a couple weeks or something like that, but if something like life-changingly bad were to happen to me, I'm not so much worried about my storage unit or the stuff in it, and I hope my loved ones wouldn't be as well. We would just figure it out as things happen. I did sell this little kitty cat, little black and white kitty cat, long hair. Got it for free from a friend whose mom collected them. It sold for $12.71. But if, say, I'm having a bout of migraines and I'm down for a couple days, my boyfriend does have a pretty good idea of how to find stuff. And as long as I'm able to speak, I can tell him where to find stuff as well. Now, this is a set of Oneida Damask Rose silverware. It's a 12-piece set, all sorts of different things, spoons, knives, forks. We paid $3 at an estate sale. It sold for $24.95. So I feel confident that he would be able to find stuff if he needed to, but I hopefully don't ever have to run into that situation where we have to figure that out. We sold these Lion King Pez for $5.75. So I guess the big moral of the story in this video is you just need to be organized. You need to have a system that works for you. It doesn't have to be a SKU system if that's not your thing, but SKUs are great, especially if you're selling a lot of the same thing. Next up, we sold these vintage William Rogers Jasmine teaspoons. There's 6 of them here. I paid 19 cents a piece, so $1.14 for all of them, and they sold for $12.71. Now we're back into our little miscellaneous box where I keep lanyards, keychains, just small little things that, again, I don't have a whole cubby for. And we sold another set of those Batman watches. When these sold, I got kind of scared because I sold a set last week and I forgot that I had actually gotten 4 total. Paid 50 cents for the 2, they sold for $12.71. And believe it or not, even things like these hats are sorted in a certain sort of way so I know where to find them. Like that's the row of my vintage foam hats. And then I have a row of like company hats and then NFL, MLB, college. So it does make sense in a way. This vintage Mount Kenya Safari Club hat I got at a yard sale for $0.25 and it sold for $25.46. There was actually a sold comp for that specific hat, so I knew how much to list it for. Now this is a pretty little stoneware mug. It's got all the lighthouses from the Outer Banks in North Carolina on it. If you ever get a chance to go see them, it's absolutely beautiful. I highly recommend it as a vacation spot. I got it at a thrift store for 99 cents. This mug sold for $11.01. And then we have the issue of large things that I don't know where to put them. They just go on the top shelf. Like this poster. We picked this up last weekend, not like this past weekend, but the weekend before at a highway sale. I paid $3 for it, but I knew it would sell. It is a flocked neon blacklight glowing Sublime sun poster from 2002. I paid $3. It sold for $24.95. And this shelf over here is essentially my trinket / salt and pepper / ashtrays, cool little vintage things. I put these over here because these are items that are easily cleaned. So if they get a little dust on them because they're close to the door, I can clean them easily. We sold this set of salt and pepper shakers, little Thanksgiving turkeys, for $8.46, and they only cost me 50 cents at a yard sale. Now this was also a pickup from that highway sale just last weekend. This is a vintage 1997 McDonald's Happy Meal girl doll, and she's got like fries and a burger and a drink, and the drink, when you push the straw, it actually makes noise. Very cool item. I paid $5. It sold for $50.96. And then every now and then I have something that I just don't know where to put it, and it's new old stock that I pick up, so it goes down there in that little cubby. This is a vintage soap box, like for when you're traveling and you want to take your own soap with you. Kind of a neat little thing. I paid $1/4 at a yard sale. It sold for $8.46. Now we're heading back down to our sewing and craft cubby, and I keep all my little kits right here. This is a cross-stitch pillowcase kit, and it's like rose and piano themed, and the person that had it actually had the thread you use attached, which is kind of convenient. I got that at the estate sale where I got all the creative memory stuff, and I got a bunch of sewing stuff for like 10 cents a piece. It sold for $8.95. And now we have a belt buckle going out that came from that highway sale just over a week ago, and on the back it said German silver, but I don't think it's actually like solid silver. If it is, awesome for the person that bought it. I paid $3. It sold for $16.95 because that's what the comps on it were like. There were several of those sold. Now this was a really cool item. I recently picked up a bunch of those little filibus from Sesame Street character type things. You can get them at theme parks like Busch Gardens, Sesame Place, SeaWorld, and you can pick little individual PVC figures to fill that bus with. Well, this guy is definitely a bolo, as a lot of those characters are. I paid $1/4 for this one, and it sold for $38.21. So if you ever see those filibus characters, definitely worth picking up. Even if they're the common ones, they can still sell. Now this is an item I've sold before. It is a Barbie My Pet Kitty, and I found the cat before, but never with the little carrying case and the brush and the bowl. I paid $1/4 for it at the bins. It sold for $14.95. Definitely worth a pickup, selling that same doll twice, so I've definitely learned that thing sells. Barbie collectors want it, I guess. Now we have a trinket lot going out, and this is a mix of lots of different items from lots of different places. Probably got about $3 into it. It sold for $34.95. Now we're going to grab a salt and pepper shaker set. This was a recent yard sale pickup, probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And these are made by Rosemead, which I think is in South Dakota, North Dakota, one of the Dakotas. And it's a cute little set of skunks. I almost said squirrels. I paid $1, they sold for $10. Now we're heading down to my little home decor cubby where I keep like knobs and light switch plate covers, which is what this is. This is an Amarel one, new old stock. Very fancy little design here. Grabbed this at a yard sale for 50 cents. It sold for $14. And then sometimes I just like to look at stuff, and these fuzzy dice make me happy. I sold a set that was loose recently, and then my boyfriend found these at the highway sale last week, and of course I picked them up. So I paid $1 for this set, still in the package, and they sold for $18.66. So all of these items cost me $29.51 and were $526.81 in sales for the weekend, which I'm very happy with. And I'm also happy that my store is organized enough that I can find this stuff. So tell me in the comments below, how do you organize your inventory? And we'll see you soon with another video of what's sold.